Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia. Liver, the assimilation of digestion. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature, with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is a reward of 60 years of integrated education. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening, and integrated knowledge is empowering. Now we have been talking of human digestive nervous system. Prime function of digestive system is a continuous supply of water, nutrients, electrolytes, and other vital elements for integrated homeostasis and perfect integrated health. And executive functions are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and defecation. Having explained that, now let's move on to the very next stage. Digestive of the human digestive system is a frugivorous. That means we are more like birds, not like carnivorous animals, nor like herbivorous animals. We cannot live on non-vegetarian. We cannot live on herbs. We have to live on fruits, vegetables, nuts, and those things which can be easily digested, absorbed, and done with it. We are placed between these two, and this is something which has already been explained. With that, let's move on to the very next stage. Teeth, again and again, I want to show deciduous teeth, childhood temporary milky teeth are 20 in number, and when they're permanent, they are 32. The ratio is 1 into Deviank ratio. Similarly, roots for incisor is 1, canine is 1, premolar are 2, and molar are 3. That also follows Deviank sequence. Upper two middle teeth incisors are designed with Deviank ratio. It's also interesting thing to be observed. Third thing which I have been talking quite a lot about digestion is, according to Ayurveda, eat slowly, steadily, and dissolve every food into liquid products in the mouth itself. Let the digestion start in the mouth and then swallow to the other parts. Another point which I have been talking very clearly is, right up to this particular stage in the mouth, everything is done by muscular actions only. And after being swallowed into the esophagus, the process becomes involuntary under autonomic nervous system. From that point, it's very clear. Now let's move on to the very next. In the mouth, we have salivary glands which produce saliva, and partial absorption and digestion takes place in the mouth itself. Alpha amylase is designed in such a way that cooked carbohydrate or starch is converted into maltose, and then maltose is further divided into glucose plus glucose, so that we do not go to the stage of hypoglycemia after taking food when we haven't eaten for quite some time. To avoid that, it's better that we slowly convert that into glucose, absorb along with salt and water in the mouth itself, and then move on to the next stage into the stomach. Taste and smell also go side by side in the mouth, so that's the psychology plays very important role as far as food selection is concerned. So from that angle, I've shown smell if it's intact, taste if it's intact, we can make optimum use of human psychology much better, and that is also something which I've already spoken again and again. This repeated, I'm going to repeat them. I finish up entire digestive system so that we understand how the sequence is taking place. Human stomach is made the first place which has got insular cortex, which controls the entire autonomic nervous system from brain down, and thereby is closely connected with psychology. And pacemakers for three organs which go beyond the nervous system is digestive system, heart, and the uterus. Now, since we are talking of digestive system, it is in the stomach where the fundus is. As a result, food as we take involuntary from peristaltic goes right up to the anus and is thrown out after full digestion as a defecation. And of course, the whole structure I have already explained. There are 5 different stages which have to take place is one part. The coming to the last part of homeostasis, beyond the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic, this comes under local graded potential where it is able to produce peristaltic movement with the help of circular muscles as well as longitudinal muscles. You can see the picture down. Submucous sensory component plays very important role to completely eradicate the whole thing in a very systematic way. Having explained that, emphasizing on that, I think we are very clear why digestion starts in the mouth of carbohydrates and digestion in the stomach starts of the protein. Formation of hydrochloric acid in the stomach I have already explained. How it is formed from carbon dioxide plus water into carbonic acid, and then how hydrogen and carbonic acid, carbonics along with the sodium go as a sodium carbonate, and hydrogen along with the chloride to form hydrochloric acid, and pH is 1.5. So as a result, it can be antimicrobial for all the things which we take from outside, and also helps in breakdown of proteins from pepsin to peptides, pepsinogens, and of course the absorption of vitamin B12 also by the intrinsic factors. This is also something I have explained. This is repetition how system is actually working step by step. Autonomic nervous system plays very important role to make sure, and as far as digestion is concerned, it is a primarily autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, particularly facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus play a very important role in digestion process. Having explained that, I'm not going to spend much of time, just repeat it. Cranial parasympathetic nerves play important role in digestion of gastrointestinal system to make sure that we have a continuous supply of water, electrolytes, elements, and everything to be perfectly homeostatic and perfectly normal. 10 stages of protein formation also has been explained, and I think I've already explained about the 10 stages of glucose formation, gluconeogenesis. Let's move on to the next. Now we are coming to the question of liver. Liver is the third organ to be important to be understood first before we move on to the next stage of small intestine where digestion of fat things come. But for the digestion of fat thing, we starts in small intestine, but liver plays very important role in formation of bile salts and structure of liver. You can see the right lobe, left lobe, middle, gallbladder, common duct, and then falling into duodenum where the whole thing is carried is one part, and hepatic syncytial, central exit, hepatic plates, bile ducts, and other things are also being explained very clearly in this so that we understand how this system works. I'm not going to spend much of a time on this because let's talk of physiology more than the anatomy. But coming to the physiology as the prime function of the liver are concerned, this is something which I want all of you to listen very carefully because this is important. Prime function of liver should be exocrine function. That means it has got those functions which produce bile salts for digestion, absorption of fats, metabolism of carbohydrate, fats and proteins, metabolism of vitamins and minerals, glycogenesis, glucogenesis, gluconeogenesis is for the formation of glucose as well as glycogen and other products in the liver. Degradation and synthesis of fat, synthesis of triglyceride from carbohydrates, cholesterol and phospholipids from free fatty acids, saturated fatty acids in the mitochondria, lipoproteins, HDL, LDL, VLDL, and chylomicrons, which are important. Breakdown and synthesis of 6% of protein. Deamination of amino acids for energy. Urea formation. Non-essential nitrogen synthesis. Albumin synthesis. Detoxification function of microorganisms. Detoxification of drugs in the liver, and many other essential functions in the liver, which makes sure that liver is one of the most important, most versatile, fantastic organ to make sure that we do not suffer from any of the problem, and it is associated with celiac condition, our digestion, and of course the solar plexus. That way this organ plays very important role in making sure that come what may, whatever is digested by the mouth, by the stomach and small intestine, as well as what is happening in large intestine, everything is finally absorbed through the portal system, comes to the liver. Liver is able to assimilate into the kind of product which is finally going to be used. Products that are produced in the mouth, stomach, small intestine, large intestine cannot be used directly. They are carried along with things to the liver. From liver finally is able to make into the product which are required to make sure that everything is used effectively, efficiently, for the benefit of every cell of the 100 trillion cells to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy person. So that way taking care of liver is absolutely essential. Avoiding alcohol, avoiding smoking, avoiding drugs, avoiding things as far as possible should be done unless it is absolutely essential to be taken. And preferably if you can do with the diet control itself, and maybe the herbs and products, if you can manage to find something and make liver very, very strong, that would be your greatest asset in life, to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. That way liver is very, very important from that point of view. Having understood the anatomy, having understood the physiology. Now let's move on to some other things which are very important for liver digestion, absorption and as far as fatty acid is concerned, lipids have to be finally converted to fatty acids. That is the final objective. And how these 10 stages of fatty acid synthesis are, I'm not going to get into detail, but let me tell you one thing very clearly. Cholesterol by itself has got 27 electrons. But here you see carbon 16, carbon 18 plays a role, and then coming down to 7. How pyruvate is converted to acetylcholine, methylcholine, then methylene to butyryl ACP, then how enol ACP, hydroxyacyl APC, ketoacetyl ACP, and methanol, and again back to pyruvate. This cycle of 10 stages goes on 24/7 to make sure that we are perfectly healthy. I'm not going to details of this because it's highly complicated. It cannot be done within 20 minutes, which I'm trying to avoid for each video to be done with it. We will talk about it at a later thing when it comes to the stage of detailed discussion on this subject. Bile acid synthesis is absolutely essential. As I told you, cholesterol is the medium from which 7-hydroxycholesterol is made with alpha-7 alpha hydroxylase, and which are further divided into cholic acid and quinodeoxycholic acid, which are further divided in glycoalcoholic acid, taurochloric acid, glycohinodeoxychloric acid, tauroquinodeoxycholic acid, which further get made into deoxycholic acid and lithocholic acid. This is a process which I am not going to get into detail, but this information is more than enough to understand how you should go to the next stage, step by step, to understand things better. Similarly, when these acids come out, work on flat globules, break down, then bile salt plus phospholipid is added to that and then get converted into what you see emulsion droplets. And that is further divided into different things for digestion of fatty acid thereafter. I am not going to detail at this juncture. This information should be more than enough to understand that this is how bile acids are actually going to take place and how they can further divide and we use for energy and otherwise. Carbohydrate for glucose, proteins for amino acids, and lipids and fats for fatty acids. These three things are very important to understand to start with. Having understood, let's move on to the next stage. What exactly is required for us to understand why fatty acids play important role in building a further process of adding fat and what it is. Before going to this particular picture, let me now bring one more factor into the picture. Fat can produce 2.25 times more energy than carbohydrates and proteins. What is the reason? The reason is very, very simple. Carbohydrates and proteins straightway get divided into glucose and amino acids with a minimum amount of ATP used. Not much is there. But when it comes to the question of fatty acids, lipids, they can produce, if 1 gram of carbohydrate is produced 4 million kilocalories, and 1 gram of protein is also producing 4 kilocalories, whereas lipids can produce 9 kilocalories for 1 gram of cholesterol. And the reason is very simple. While making the process of developing fatty acids to lipids and fats, the combination is done in such a way that it is the oxygen which is taken out. For example, let me explain. Carbohydrate, the formula is C6H12O6. That combination is there. Lipids are derived from cholesterol, not from proteins. Protein has got a nitrogen added later. So I put it as the third one. When they come to this particular part, it is the oxygen which is removed, whereas carbon and hydrogen remains constant. When they remain constant, oxygen having taken, so while conversion of lipid into fatty acids, it is the oxygen which is added to be converted into beta oxidation process, and as a result you have much more energy coming out of fatty acids and of course lipids and fats than proteins and carbohydrates. Having understood that, I think this is very important that we complete that part. Now coming to this enterohepatic circulation, which is the most interesting part of digestion with the liver by and large. Enterohepatic circulation is a circuit in which solutes are secreted by the liver only to be restored to the liver via intestinal reabsorption. The molecules are secreted into the bile hepatocytes, delivered to the small intestine by biliary tract, reabsorbed from the small intestine, and returned to the liver by the portal system to become available again to uptake and excretion by hepatocytes. And then most primary and secondary bile sacs are absorbed by the simple diffusion in general. You can see this picture on one side. Now the amount of bile which is produced is only 0.5 grams per day. Up to that, only limited amount of fat or lipids can be digested. In the process, when we take that food, the taste of that, a smell of that can fabricate how much is to be done. As I told you in the very beginning thing, bile salts, bile cholesterols are produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. And from there is released only when digestion starts in small intestines, not when it is in the mouth or in the stomach, only in small intestine. But after that, when it starts releasing, it does all the absorption. But whatever can be digested is absorbed and reabsorbed from the terminal part of the ileum back to liver through the portal system which is important as you can see in this particular picture. After that, same bile salt is excreted again, and it goes, and the process goes on maybe 7 times, 8 times, 10 times, even more times, depending on the kind of cholesterol you have taken, kind of fatty acid you have taken, kind of fat you have taken, kind of lipid you have taken. More you are taken, the more circulation is going to be there. So from that point of view, if you take the amount of fat to the minimum required, which is essential, would make sure that you don't have to do this again and again too many times. And you can spread over a day in such a way that we can do in small stages and keep the motion lubricated also properly, fat, and done with it. So as long as the amount of fat and lipid is limited, digestion is complete, absorption is there, assimilation is there, circulation is going very well, your liver will be perfectly healthy till the last day of your life. You'll have no problem whatsoever. And as far as the drug, as I told you, the function, drugs and other things should be avoided as far as possible, and make sure that it is only limited, nothing beyond that. So at the end of this enterohepatic circulation, let me tell you, the amount of bile salts, cholesterols which are produced in the liver are limited to 0.5 grams. This has to be circulated again and again and again, maybe 10, 15, 20 times, depending upon the kind of cholesterol you are taken, kind of digestion it needs to be taken. And as a result, its process can make sure that you are perfectly normal. From enterohepatic circulation, only you can make out how effective is your liver, how effective is your bile, how effective are the organs, how this is to be done perfectly and done with it. If this system is going very well, I can assure you will be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. You don't have to worry about extra fat being deposited anywhere. You will be as muscular as possible, as febrile as possible, without any iota of cholesterol in the form of triglycerides. HDL cholesterol will be better, LDL will be less, and percent will be normal, fatty acid will be normal, everything will be perfectly fine. You'll have nothing to worry about. If you can take care of this particular thing and stick to pure vegetarian diet and don't take unnecessary fat. Now again, the question I would like to throw why I'm not in favor of non-vegetarian is basically the fat which is there in non-vegetarian articles is fat, not lipids. Lipid can be easily broken, but fat cannot be broken. You need much higher energy to do that, and that can lead to much bigger problem than vegetarian diet can lead. So from that angle, I would definitely say take a vegetarian diet, keep it to a limited amount, make sure that everything is perfectly fine and done with it. More than that, there is no need for anybody to do. From that angle, let me put it, it plays very, very important role in making yourself perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. Coming to this picture, I'm not going to talk much because already coming to now 23 minutes. I think this should be enough. And let me say thank you very much. We'll continue with the next journey thereafter.